Welcome into the Inside Scoop. We are live from Nashville, Tennessee. Today is April 6th, and I am your host, Josh Newberg. We are all here, you guys are included, to cover some recruiting. And we got a lot to talk about today because it was a busy weekend. Today's show, Auburn, Oregon, Tennessee. Also, an interview with top 10 running back Javian Osborne, who has narrowed it down to Notre Dame or Michigan. Decision coming soon. But first, let's talk about the biggest developments in college football recruiting from over the weekend. There was a bunch of them, but there was four that stuck out to me, and we're going to cover it in this video. We're going to start with USC keeping elite talent home. The Trojans picked up their 8th commitment since the middle of February. They are red hot. And on Saturday, from Oaks Christian High School, this recruit was on this channel not too long ago, just about 3 days ago, saying, quote, "I'm going to shock the world."
I think I'm going to shock the world with this one. It's a lot of talks around where I'm going to go, but I think I'm going to shock the world.
Running back Deshaun Doe at the time. Now, many thought USC was trending, but he took this last-minute trip to Michigan. In the interview with me, he was wearing the Michigan beanie, caught some people by surprise, wearing that beanie online, talking up Michigan the way he was. But in the end, he's staying home and going to USC. The Trojans now 20 total commitments, sitting at number 2 overall. Now, remember, on 3, this is the way the rankings work. They take the average of all teams' total commits, so it's early. Right now, USC has way more commits than anybody else. They have 20. The number right now, I believe, on 3 factors in 5 or 6 top commits. So the 5 or 6 top commits, the average, is where we get the ranking. Now, as more teams get more commits, this average is going to grow. And as that average grows, it'll only help USC's rank. But right now, hey, sitting at number 2, chasing only LSU. All right, Ohio State stacked secondary. Last week, number 2 safety in America, Blaine Bradford, committed. And then on Friday, they landed another top 10 player at the position, Simeon Caldwell out of Jacksonville, Florida. Number 6 safety in America, but it doesn't stop there because number 1 safety in America, Braylon Womack, was on campus this weekend, and he had a lot to say, really loved his visit. It sounds like they are absolutely in play, if not the team to beat for the number 1 safety in America, Braylon Womack. Ohio State also, over the weekend, landed a commitment from 6'3", 225-pound in-state linebacker CJ Sana. He committed over the weekend, and also on campus after his big announcement that he's shutting it all down, 5-star wide receiver Chris Henry Jr. was back in Columbus showing love to the Buckeyes. Ohio State, big weekend. They jump to the number 3 spot. Oregon to number 4. Ohio State trying to run down that number 1 class in America. All right, Miami. They had a huge flip over the weekend from Georgia. Yes, the 9th commitment for the Miami Hurricanes, a top 20 player at his position from Jonesboro, Georgia. We're talking Jontavius Wyman. Now, he visited Coral Gables 2 weeks ago. Sounds like he sat on it, really thought it over because the 6'1", 170-pound corner from the state of Georgia has been committed to the Dogs for nearly a year. It would be a year in July, so about 8 or 9 months now he has been committed to the Dogs, but now he's a Miami Hurricane, and the Canes have 11 total commitments. They're sitting with the 11th ranked class in the country, but it was a big weekend of visits. They also had Jalen Lott on campus. He's a top wide receiver from Texas. They had a bunch of others. Watch out. Here comes Miami. All right, Felix Ojo, elite offensive tackle, was back in Austin. One of the top offensive tackles in America, spent 2 days with his entire family on campus. Now, Ojo's 6'6", 290 pounds from Mansfield, Texas, and he just wrapped up another visit. I'm just going to say it. I think at this point, we can say Texas is the front runner here. For the 2 days that he was there, the entire family, they spent a ton of time with Steve Sarkisian in the staff. Also, Arch Manning, got to sit down with him, talk and chat. But this recruitment's not over, right? You got Oklahoma, Ohio State, Michigan, Texas, Ole Miss. I expect him to take official visits to all those programs and then make a decision. So I think we're looking at maybe June, July, maybe even August, where Felix Ojo comes off the board. But right now, I really like where Texas sits. All right. Notre Dame, they are getting it going. We've been telling you on the Inside Scoop. We had Mike Singer on last week, Notre Dame insider, and he was saying this momentum is building. And over the weekend, they landed one of the nation's most disruptive pass rushers. As a junior, he had 10 sacks, 28 tackles for loss. I'm talking about Ebenezer Etowade. Now, he's an on-3 outlier, meaning on-3 has him ranked way higher than the other services. With on-3, he's the number 36 overall prospect, number 6 ranked edge in the country, so top 10 player in his position, and a borderline 5-star recruit. That's what Notre Dame just landed, and if you've been watching the Inside Scoop, you know Notre Dame is just getting started. They are going to be red hot this spring. They're going to take that momentum into the summer. Watch out for the Irish on the trail. All right. So those are the biggest developments that I saw from the weekend. You guys let me know what you're tracking. Did I miss something that we should have hit on? And also, what do you guys think about what I spoke about? Talk to me. Let's head out to the Plains, talk a little Auburn recruiting. And over the weekend, it was Big Cat weekend. No, do not adjust your calendars. It's not July. It is the spring. We had Big Cat weekend. We had a couple big names on campus, and we got to start here with number 1 wide receiver Tristan Keys. He visits Auburn just about 2 or 3 weeks after making that commitment to LSU. What do you make of it, Jeffrey Lee of Auburn Live?
Not much, Josh. I really don't. Since his commitment to LSU, I think he's been to Ole Miss. He's been to A&M. He's going to take official visits everywhere else. I think it's more of, hey, Auburn's still kind of in it. Like, he's keeping them alive, but as far as, a dramatic or significant impact on his recruitment, I don't think so. I think he'll take his official visits. I think it's going to be tough to flip him. But, I didn't make much of him coming to Auburn on Saturday. Now, fair to say, him and Deuce Snyder are pretty close. They've
Right.
played together. They've played against each other. There's a connection there. He came in on Friday evening, spent Friday night with Deuce, hanging out with Deuce, spent Saturday watching the scrimmage, watching Deuce do his thing. There's really good relationships with Hugh Freeze, with Marcus Davis. So absolutely, and as he said, does Auburn have a chance to flip it? For sure. They've got a chance, and I'll be back for an OV. But, it's April, Josh.
Mm-hmm. Need to see him on campus a couple more times. But if it does happen, we can look back on this spring visit and say that maybe that was the turning point of this recruitment. All right.
Yeah.
Now, there was a commitment over the weekend. Tell us who it was. And also, is there anyone else that you think coming out of the weekend could be close to pulling the trigger?
Big. I thought this was a big commitment. Parker Dooley Pritchett, big offensive lineman from nearby Columbus, Georgia. So getting a commitment from him was big. Auburn, he's very high on Auburn's offensive line board. He's a big dude, 6'4", 310, probably more suited for a guard, but he could probably go out as a swing, maybe a right tackle. But I think they're recruiting him interior. Good to get him on board. Georgia wanted him. He had an official visit set to Georgia. Florida wants him. I think he's still going to take a Florida official visit. So getting a guy, even though he's a 3-star recruit in the on-3 industry ranking, when Georgia wants you, when Florida wants you, that's a good win. That's a good win for Auburn, especially along the offensive line. He's the first offensive lineman in this class, and we expect the offensive line to be a pretty big part of the Auburn's 2026 class. So good get there for Auburn on Big Cat. And then other guys I think they made moves for, and guys I'm going to be keeping an eye on. Tight end Xavier Tiller, I'm going to be keeping an eye on. He was there Saturday. Jacquez Wilkes, top 100 overall recruit from nearby Wadley. Auburn likes him at the middle backer or maybe the wheel. He's listed as an edge, but Auburn likes him as a stand-up guy. So another guy I'll be keeping an eye on. As far as maybe he makes a commitment. He doesn't have really a timeline. So those are the guys I'm kind of really keeping more of an eye on. Some of these guys are like, I'm set on taking OVs. Then I'm going to, make a decision before the end of the summer. Marquez Daniel, 4-star wide receiver from Tuskegee. He's a guy that's kind of like that. But again, Josh, you just never know with these guys. I think Parker Pritchett up until a week ago was saying, I'm going to wait until the end of the summer. So, but those are some guys I'm keeping an eye on. Tiller, Jacquez Wilkes. I tell you another guy is Adam Balagoon Ali. He's a linebacker from Florida. Auburn put the full court press on him this weekend. Really spent a lot of time with him. DJ Durkin, Hugh Freeze. So they highly prioritizing him. He's another one that we'll watch going forward.
Well, it's interesting because even some of these guys that did not commit and might not commit in the coming days, there's going to be names that were on campus over the weekend that end up signing with Auburn when it's all said and done in about 8 or 9 months. So big weekend. Also tracking a quarterback here. Oklahoma commitment. Jaden O'Neal was there. We know he's committed to Oklahoma, but he is definitely looking around. I think he was also at FSU over the weekend. How much a priority do you think he is for Auburn?
I think he's the top priority. I do. I think he's the tier 1 guy for Auburn. I think Auburn wants to sign one quarterback in this class. They're looking at several. They're looking at Travis Burgess. They're looking at Landon Duckworth. They're looking at Jaden O'Neal. I mean, there's some long shots out there like Ryder Lyons and Diabell, but getting Jaden O'Neal on campus is big in their efforts to flip him, because you're talking about, like you said, Josh, there's some buzz. There's some buzz that he's not going to be in Oklahoma's class much longer. I want to say Oklahoma is also pushing for Bo Bentley. So, what's going to happen with Jaden O'Neal? I don't think our Oklahoma guys up there at Sooner Scoop expect Jaden O'Neal to be in Oklahoma's class much longer. So he's going to, fall to someone else, whether that's Georgia. I think he went to Georgia. He's been to Florida State. And now Auburn, I think he's going to take some other visits. But, what's his – I don't see Auburn breaking the bank in this class for a quarterback. So is Jaden O'Neal, the NIL that he is going to require for him, is that something that Auburn's going to be able to or be willing to put out? It remains to be seen. I still think with Auburn's quarterback recruiting, I still think the most likely guy is Travis Burgess from Grayson. But Jaden O'Neal, certainly, if they can make things work out with him, I think he might be there as well. But I think still right now, my allegiances with Auburn and what I think with quarterback is Travis.
All right, let's head down. This is the last thing I want to ask you about. Let's head down to Jackson, Alabama, where we find number 2 ranked running back in America, Xavier Crowell. He was on campus over the weekend. Do you think he leaves the state of Alabama? Inside Scoop listeners, I got to tell you about a company that makes this show possible. It's Rhoback Activewear. The only way to describe Rhoback is best fit, best feel. And for those who are not familiar with Rhoback, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Rhoback has released so many items within their new licensed game day collection, and it's our favorite. With novel polo designs, clean hoodie, and quarter zip designs from some of your favorite schools, it's definitely worth checking out. Nobody else in the market is pairing these level of custom designs with this quality of activewear. Rhoback's everyday shorts or their Delta Performance pants are the perfect pairing as well. They are both super comfortable. They have an elastic waistband and a great fabric that is made to have the appearance of a nice short look, but the comfort for everyday movement. Rhoback also has been proudly leading the NIL charge, having signed partnerships with multiple college football stars, past and present, and are becoming the go-to brand for college athletes across the country. So use code JOSH on Rhoback.com for a generous 20% off all new custom orders through the end of this week. Let's spell it out for you. RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all performance polos, shorts, and more with promo code JOSH.
I think it's very possible. I really do. Now, I think it's more likely Alabama, Auburn. I think it's, I guess if I had to choose right now, I would think he stays in state, but he's looking elsewhere, no doubt about it. He was at Big Cat. He's been to Auburn back earlier in the spring and junior day back in January. Auburn's prioritized him. He's on that tier 1 level of running backs with, Jay Lamar, Derek Cooper for Auburn. So he's definitely a priority for Auburn. I just don't know, like you said, I don't know where he ends up. I don't think Auburn's the team to beat. I might even give the edge to Alabama at this point, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised to see him leave the state either.
All right. Auburn fans, talk to us. How do you like Big Cat weekend in the spring? Does it have the same feel to it as it did in July? Talk to us. As I said, the Tigers picked up 1 commit, but I think there's going to be more commitments coming from this group. Who do you guys think Auburn lands? Let us know. Let's talk a little Oregon Ducks recruiting. And the Ducks and the USC Trojans, they've been throwing haymakers on the recruiting trail. There's been rumors swirling that USC is trying to flip Cody Green, elite offensive tackle committed to Oregon, but he's from Mater Dei down there in Santa Ana, California. So Cody Green back on campus this weekend. Very important visit. What's your read on this? Should Oregon fans be concerned about, what's going on between Green and USC?
It's certainly something to keep an eye on here, Josh, because USC looks like they have this newfound energy on campus, and they're really bringing in a lot of top California recruits for visits, and they're getting commitments from these guys. So they're certainly worth keeping an eye on here as the Trojans try to pull off a flip of Oregon offensive tackle commit Cody Green. But he was back on campus this weekend, and it was a really important visit for him. The main thing he was looking to take away and get a feel for, Josh, was how does Alik Terry coach, and how does that maybe compare to other schools that are going after him here? And he said that it was kind of perfectly suited for what he's looking for. So Oregon was kind of needing to check that box this weekend, and it certainly sounds like they did. But he's going to kind of keep things open in his recruitment, and he plans to also check out Texas and Washington before the end of this month.
So despite liking where things sit between Cody Green and Oregon, is this still a recruitment that we're just going to have to pay attention to? Because USC right there in his backyard, I mean, they're just not going away. And then he also wants to see other programs like Texas. So is that kind of just how this recruitment's going to play out?
Yeah, that's how I think this recruitment's going to play out. But the one kind of tidbit that we have to keep an eye on here is that I talked to Green before his most recent visit to Oregon, and he kind of told me that he was looking to maybe have some kind of a final decision in his recruitment before official visits, potentially. Wasn't kind of dead set on that, but was more or less saying like, hey, I'm going to take these visits this spring, and then I could be in a position where I want to decide, hey, am I going to stick with Oregon and or maybe kind of keep pursuing other options.
All right. So lots of moving parts in this recruitment. We'll keep an eye on it. Now let's stay at Mater Dei High School. There was big news this week. Oregon target Chris Henry Jr. shuts it down, cancels his official visits for now. So that being said, he's not the only wide receiver at Mater Dei that Oregon is after. Caden Dixon-Wyatt is a 4-star wideout from Mater Dei, and he was in Eugene this weekend. Is he an even bigger priority now with Chris Henry Jr. shutting it down?
Absolutely. That's certainly how I see it. It was crazy that Chris Henry Jr. recruitment unfolded the way that it did, because it wasn't too long ago that I was hearing some confidence kind of from sources with knowledge of that recruitment that Oregon's getting in better and better shape to like ultimately pull this thing off. And he kept showing up to campus, but Ohio State did an Ohio State thing. I got him to shut his recruitment down. So you got to give the Buckeye staff tremendous credit for that. But like you said, Josh, that just makes Caden Dixon-Wyatt that much more of a priority for Oregon and new wide receivers coach Ross Douglas, who came over from Syracuse. But I like where Oregon stands for Caden Dixon-Wyatt right now. I think it was crucial that they got him back on campus. Yeah. And then he followed that up with another trip to USC. So we got Oregon, USC, Ohio State. Also a program that's certainly worth mentioning for Caden Dixon-Wyatt. He's visited all of those programs here in the spring. So I'm hoping to get an interview with Dixon-Wyatt and kind of getting some updated intel about where the Ducks stand. But I think that he's a huge priority with them. You have to keep in mind that the Ducks are also going after Jalen Lott, a coveted Texas pass catcher, as well as Messiah Hampton out of the state of New York. And he was on campus in Eugene for his first trip to Oregon since getting that offer from Ross Douglas after he joined the staff.
All right, let's wrap it up with a little 5-star buzz. There's 2 big-time names at positions of need for Oregon that I want to talk about. Up first, 5-star edge Anthony Tank Jones out of Mobile, Alabama. Now, this has been a heated in-state battle between Auburn, Alabama, a couple others, but was it a bit of a surprise to see him out in Eugene this weekend?
It was a little bit of a surprise. I mean, I had heard some rumblings about a potential visit, and then was able to break that one for our readers over at Scoop Duck over the weekend. And I think this was big because Jones had only been on campus one other time, Josh, and it was for that Maryland game back in November. That was also the same weekend the Ducks had Jared Curtis on campus for a visit. So with that being a more abbreviated visit, I guess we should say, I caught up with Jones after that first visit. He said it was kind of tight schedule, didn't get a chance to do a whole lot. I think it was crucial for Landing and the Ducks to get him back on campus for multiple days, get to really roll out the red carpet and show him anything that he maybe wouldn't have been able to see on that first visit. And I'd wager to guess that they're probably going to get an official visit out of him this summer before he makes his decision. I don't know if that happens if they don't get him back out on campus for a spring visit, much like this one.
All right. Well, we could very well be talking about him into the future. Now, how about this name? 5-star offensive tackle, number 2 rated offensive tackle in America, Emmanuel Iheanacho. He was out on campus this weekend, and I think his recruitment is a little bit more open than maybe some of the other 5-stars. So do you think Iheanacho, after this visit, is this something we're going to continue to talk about when it comes to Oregon recruiting?
I think we'll certainly continue to talk about him and Oregon's recruitment of him this cycle, Josh. But as of right now, I think that if you had to choose a 5-star that would be more likely to join the fold, especially at offensive tackle, I'd look at Jackson Cantwell out of Missouri. You have the landing connection. He's from the state of Missouri. And Iheanacho has kind of discussed about distance being something that is of consideration in his recruitment. We know that Mike Loxley and the in-state Maryland Terps have a renewed energy on the recruiting trail.
Yeah.
And I know that having Zion Ely in that class means something to Iheanacho, and getting to play in front of his friends and family and kind of just put on for the state. I think that's getting more important for him and for in-state targets out there in the DMV area. So I think we'll keep talking about it. This was another important visit for the Ducks because he had only been on campus once prior to this weekend, and that was all the way back in July for Oregon Saturday Night Live camp. So super important for Alik Terry and the law firm, the offensive line staff, to get him out to Eugene this weekend, and just got to keep chopping wood, keep chopping away at this one, and and you hope that you can get him back on campus for an OV before a decision.
Yeah. Well, these visits out to Oregon, I mean, really coming out of the dead period, Oregon has only just heat up continually from week to week to week. And it seems like with this April 26th spring game, it seems like we're just building the intensity of recruiting all the way up until the spring game. And Oregon's actually having a spring game. So do you think Dan Lanning views that as a big visit opportunity?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think with the way that we've seen things operate in the past and my years covering this team, the spring game has always kind of served as that marquee recruiting event on the calendar. That and the July Saturday Night Live camp, which I just referenced, but a bit of a change this year, Josh. They're not going to be holding that camp. I think it has something to do with NCAA rules. But that just makes the spring game that much more important in my view. So I think that we're going to continue to kind of see things build up throughout the month. They didn't have spring ball until just last week. So that's why they didn't have that many recruits. But now that the spring practices are rolling, they're inside Autzen Stadium as well with their practice facility under construction. So I think that's another kind of unique layer, getting to have practice inside Autzen Stadium. That's something cool for recruits to get to experience. And I think that Dan Lanning and the Ducks aren't going to stay quiet for long.
No, I don't think so either. Duck fans, talk to us. How you guys feeling about recruiting? You can feel the momentum building. You guys tell us, who is the most important target still left out on the board? Let us know. We got a really special guest right now on the Inside Scoop. It's running back Javian Osborne out of Forney, Texas, Forney High School, number 8 ranked running back in the country, top 100 overall prospect. And I kind of feel, Javian, you're down to 2 schools. We got Michigan, we got Notre Dame, and I kind of feel like this recruitment's about to come to an end. Am I right? You feel like you got a decision coming in the next month or so?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Have you set an announcement date yet?
I have not. I haven't made it official. Just been really talking it over with my my parents, or really just my dad, and still trying to make sure everything is gathered up. But I think I'm finna come down to a date. Yeah, and make it public so everybody knows.
Yeah. Do you think it'll be in like the next 6-8 weeks, something like that?
Probably the next 4 to 5 weeks, I'll say.
Okay.
Yeah, early.
Okay.
Early.
All right. We might circle back on that announcement, but I want to know why you decided to narrow it down to Notre Dame and Michigan, because you had, I believe it was a top 10 and it went down to 2. Why those 2 programs?
Well, if you look at the dynamics of the program, you have, Michigan and Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame is like the, Dallas Cowboys of college football, and then you have Michigan, which is somebody that's just, they are, these are like the 2 blue bloods of college football. But one thing, I mean, just, just talking with the coaching staff, just being able to get up to Notre Dame, it was a big eye opener for me, being able to see the campus. I already talked to Coach Freeman when he came down to my school, and just talking to him and just hearing how he sounds and just what he presented to Notre Dame, it was just a dream come true. Like, I mean, just Notre Dame is it's like it's big, it's a prestige campus, and same as Michigan. Michigan came down as well, and they showed so many things. Like, and I'm pretty sure you noticed, as you've seen on my recruitment and stuff, Michigan, they've been number one for a while too, and
Yeah.
because they literally just showed the platform of how they would utilize me, how they the plan of utilization of incoming into my freshman year and stuff, and just seeing all of that. It's like I just had to narrow it down, because sometimes it can take a toll on you if you know where your heart is. You don't want to waste any other coach's time and stuff. So yeah.
What about all those schools in Texas, though?
Yeah, I mean, Texas, they was when the running back coach left, Coach Choice, that was my guy. He was recruiting me freshman year, and just after that, I mean, it's kind of went downhill. I mean, Texas, new running back coach came in. I guess he just thought that other running backs was better than me, and I really wasn't hearing phone calls from him and stuff. So I was just like, okay, just gave me, just made me easier to kind of check it down and write them off the list. Just kind of, I felt some type of way with Texas. I feel like they were just trying to keep me in state, just to have me there, just in case of another recruit they don't get, and that's how I felt about them. And it was just a no-go for me. Didn't feel that at all.
Yeah.
And
You made a really quick decision too, because once Coach Choice left, I mean, you within 24 hours had canceled that official visit to Texas. So was that? Yeah.
It actually wasn't even 24 hours. I think I gave it about a week, probably about 4 or 5 days, maybe a week. But yeah, I wanted to kind of give the coach a chance, kind of hear him out, hear what he want to present it. And for those the first 3 days, he didn't call me, didn't text me or nothing. I didn't hear from nobody at all. And I try to give Texas a chance to try to. I know they're getting a new staff and they're running back, and I wanted to see are they gonna pick up the phone? Maybe Coach Sarkisian will call me or something. Just they tell me that I'm priority number one, and if you're priority number one, you at least try to hear a phone call from somebody. But I didn't hear that at all, and I was just like, yeah, I mean, I'm not finna waste no time, and I just canceled my OV.
Hey, there's a lot of schools out there, and not everybody's a fit for everyone, but you found two that you really like. And kind of to your point, you kind of hit on a little bit. I felt like early in your recruitment, maybe December, January, February, it was Michigan. I felt like Michigan had all the momentum, but I kind of feel like Notre Dame now is the one that has jumped in the lead. Is this recruitment kind of tough for you with these teams kind of sliding into who's number one, who's not?
Yeah, I'll say, it's a little tough because, I mean, these are both, very good colleges. They have very good academics. I mean, I gave Notre Dame a slight edge because just of, just what they presented, just from the football aspect, school, everything. And, I gave them a slight edge because it was just I felt a different type of feeling there. But Michigan, don't get me wrong, I love Michigan. Michigan is still it's like a 1A, 1B type of deal, and they're just right there apart. So it's really not like a big difference, but it's gonna be pretty hard, to choose from. Just definitely choosing from two big blue bloods of college football. So
Yeah. Okay, so you're publicly saying Notre Dame's your leader. I didn't want to say it because you know how sometimes recruits don't want to tip their hand at all. They're afraid to say anybody's out in front of anybody at any given time. But you're saying right now Notre Dame does have the edge, just at least by a little.
Just by a little bit, yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right, so Notre Dame has the edge right now. Michigan certainly had momentum, still very much in this race. What's up next for you visit-wise?
Oh, well, I canceled all my spring visits, and now I'm just going to Michigan spring game, which
Yep.
is April 19th, I believe. And then after that, this coming up Saturday is Notre Dame spring game. So I'll just be making
Okay.
my visits to those 2 spring games. That's it.
All right. So that's why the decision could come in the next 4 or 5 weeks, because after you make these 2 trips, what else is left to see, right?
All right. All right. Yes, sir.
So how important are these 2 visits? Because with Notre Dame slightly in the lead right now, Michigan right there, it sounds like coming out of these visits, it could still change.
Definitely.
So what are you looking for?
Yeah. What am I looking for? I mean, like I said, Notre Dame, they showed, they kind of just showed everything. Michigan, they showed pretty much everything as well. But, I just want to make sure that, just the right fit. Just really want to know where my heart is at and just make sure, I'm choosing, the best school possible. But,
Okay.
yeah.
Who do you have the best relationship with at each school? Like, who's your primary recruiter? Who's the one that you talk to almost on a daily or weekly basis at each school?
Yeah, I talked to Coach TA Tony Alford in Michigan. That's the running back coach, and then of course I talked to Coach Sider each day too as well, the running back coach in Notre Dame. So yeah, we both got a great relationship. And
Both of them
yeah,
been around for a long time. Both of them recruited some really great running backs. So I know that's not going to be easy to make that decision with those 2 recruiters on you.
yes, sir, definitely. I mean, both like you said, both big time. Running back coaches been in the game for a while.
Yeah.
Coach some big time guys. So it's definitely gonna be a hard decision to come.
What's your family saying? Are they ready for this decision? Do they think they know where you're going? How much do you weigh, your decision with your family?
Definitely, I talk with my family all the time about my decision where to go and just what college I feel is best for me and stuff. And they support my decision, but also want to make sure I got the right information and just making sure that I'm choosing the best school out there, just for me and just for my future, for the next 3 or 4 years of my life.
Are you surprised where you're at? Like, what would 10-year-old Javian Osborne say if he knew it was down to Notre Dame and Michigan? Like, would he be surprised, or would this not be a surprise to 10-year-old Javian Osborne?
You know what? 10 years old, it wouldn't be a surprise because growing up back in 2016, I think I was actually 10 years old. That's when I really started watching Michigan football. That's when Jabril Peppers
Yeah.
he was playing in Michigan. And, I was really a big fan of Michigan. I love Michigan. I love the tradition. And, especially watching the game, watching, them playing Ohio State. It was definitely just it was like, wow, like, man, like I really want to play college football. And, I really love Michigan too as well. They just definitely possess something that's, big time. And, Notre Dame, you know, Notre Dame growing up, I watched them a little bit, but not as much as Michigan. And then, just, definitely when I'm getting older now, you see Notre Dame in the picture now. But yeah, I mean, my 10-year-old self, I wouldn't be surprised at all that Michigan is, in the final 2. I just growing up watching Michigan, I love Michigan football. I love how they run the ball, and me playing running back, it's just a different feeling.
Will it help to end your recruitment? Like, are you excited to get this over with so that you can get the, decision-making part of your recruitment over with?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I know that's just a big thing for me, a big milestone ahead, and I'm definitely ready to get it over with and focus on my senior year. So I can be ready to focus on my senior year and just get ready to go to the next level, which is college football.
How are you preparing for that? I mean, we're in the middle of the off season here, so what are you kind of focused on to get ready for your senior year?
Yeah, so right now, I had surgery 8 weeks ago on my right hand. I broke it back in October, so broke my scaphoid bone. Didn't need surgery at first. That's what the doctor told me. And then all of a sudden, back in late January, they told me that I need surgery. And I got the surgery done February 6th, so it was about 8 weeks ago. So now I'm pretty much just healing up, rehabbing and stuff, rehabbing my grip in my hand and stuff, and that's pretty much it. Can't really do nothing. I'm not really cleared to lift weights or do anything. So all I've been doing is really just legs, body squats, just run running 2 miles, just, trying to be back in shape, trying to be in shape and stuff, trying to make sure, I'm still doing somewhat, being active in football, still trying to, stay focused or whatever, get my body right. But
Yeah. All right. Javian Osborne, last question as the lights go out behind me. When you commit, are you going to be one of these players that's a vocal recruiter? Are you going to help the team that you're committed to kind of build this class?
yes, sir, definitely. I mean, I'm pretty sure you heard the saying, good players want to play with other good guys as well. So, I'll definitely be able, just, be a vocal leader, like you
Yeah.
said, recruit, the top tier guys to go to wherever school I choose to. So you'll definitely hear me on that social media for sure.
All right, Javian Osborne, thank you for taking a little bit of time on your Sunday afternoon to come talk to us. We talk about you all the time on this channel, so it was great to have you actually come on and talk for yourself. If in 4 or 5 weeks you want to come and make your commitment right here on the Inside Scoop, we'll do it. We'll do it live on the channel. That would be awesome. You got a place to commit right here.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for
All
the
right.
time.
Thank you, and have a great day. Let's talk some Tennessee Volunteer football. We're going to take a look at their roster. I got On3's Cody Belair, National Scout, and it's a recruiting channel, so we're going to take a look back at a former 5-star recruit that's going to break out this year for Tennessee, also a 3-star that's going to outplay that high school ranking. Cody, who do you got as your 5-star breakout player for Tennessee?
Yeah, Josh, I think you'll sense a theme in today's show once I get rolling on this, but the receiver position for Tennessee going into 2025 is a gigantic question mark. However, we know who the players are going to be tasked with turning that question mark into an exclamation point, and that starts with former industry 5-star Mike Matthews. He saw the field last year a bit, totaling 7 catches for a little under 100 yards, but as someone with a former 5-star rating going into year 2, with a ton of production from the year before, leaving that wide receiver room, the expectations are high, and rightfully so. He has the size, he has the speed, he has the ball skills to be a high-volume target for this Volunteer offense, and he should be seeing a ton of red zone looks going into 2025.
All right, so give us that 3-star recruit that you think ultimately is going to outplay his ranking this season.
Yeah, Josh, I'm going to go with the former 3-star, former freshman All-American, and current wide receiver for the Tennessee Vols, Chris Brazzell. And I know what you're thinking. Cody, Chris was the 3rd leading receiver last year, and you already picked Mike Matthews as your 5-star breakout. How does this make sense? Well, it's because this offense needs someone to be a go-to guy in the passing game. You know how many Tennessee wide receivers caught 10 passes last year? 5. And you know how many are still on the roster? 1, and it's Chris Brazzell. So I'm here to tell you that Chris Brazzell should not only be a breakout player for Tennessee, but he should be leading the team in targets. This is the type of player that moves the chains for you, stretches the field for you, and puts the ball in the paint for you. I think last year it was the Dylan Sampson show, but in 2025, it's the year of Chris Brazzell.
Yeah, and, really no surprise with your picks there, because all the production that Tennessee lost this offseason, most of it came at the wide receiver position. So, Tennessee fans, talk to Cody and I. How are you guys feeling about the wide receiver position? We know Mike Matthews has to step up. We know it. That's what this offseason's been about. But beyond him, who else is going to make plays for you at wide receiver this year? Let us know. Comment section below.